Shalom lekulam. My name is Tziporah Price, and I have the pleasure of giving this week's Parsha Ba'et Hanan. I am going to first express my appreciation to my husband, Rabbi Price, for compiling this beautiful, beautiful collection of Rav Halivni's Divrei Torah. And Rav Halivni's ideas are all beautiful, each one, and I especially appreciate them because each one contains much psychology and much philosophy, which are both two passions of mine. It was a very hard decision for me to decide which one to choose because they're all wonderful. But, and I'm not just saying this because my husband put them together, but I really love them all. But the one I finally decided that really spoke most to me, I think, was questions and answers. And what Rav Halivni is addressing in this particular Dvar Torah is why there seem to be distinctions between Parshat Shmot and Parshat Devarim when it comes to the questions that are asked. And not only that, but the answers that are given to address them. And I'm not going to read through the entire thing, but I'm just going to give you an idea. In Parshat Shmot, the question becomes, V'hayaki yishalcha bincha machar lemor, ma zot v'amarte elav b'chozek yad hotzi anu Hashem Mitzrayim mibeit ha'avadim. And it shall be when your child asks you in the future, saying, what is this? You shall say to him, by strength of hand, the Lord brought us out from Egypt, from the house of bondage. Now, in Parshat Ba'et Hanan, let's move to that. Perek, I believe it's Perek Kaf, Ki yishalcha bincha machar lemor, ma ha'edut v'achukim, v'hamishpatim asher tziva Adonai Eloheinu etchem. It's actually Perek 6 and Pasuk 20. When your child asks you in the future, saying, what mean the testimonies and the statutes and the ordinances that the Lord our God has commanded? Most of us associate these verses with the Pesach Haggadah, in which the name of each of the sons, the questions and the answers are addressed. However, if we look carefully, we see that there's a different answer given to each one. And we focus on mazot. And mazot is a very good example because mazot can be asked in a very cynical tone, or it could be asked in a very inquisitive tone where someone really is asking very sincerely and wants a response, wants you to help understand better. And there's a big difference between these two. And that affects really the type of answer that we give each. And I think that's something that not only can we use improvement in doing in how we actually listen to how a question is asked, even when our children ask us questions, and that really will affect the type of answer we give. And I find this particularly interesting for me as a therapist, because not only were the tones important, but also sometimes the gestures, the nonverbal cues. When someone would come in, their gestures and things that you don't really think are important communication, but they really are. And my wish for all of us is that we all keep working on what we all can use improvement with, which is actually enhancing our communication skills and listening very, very carefully and responding in more appropriate ways. It's important for me to mention that I find this Dvar Torah particularly meaningful because of Rav Halivni, alav hashalom, his persona. Rav Halivni exemplified someone with amazing ability to listen, not only to listen, but to know exactly how to respond. Even before we made Aliyah, my husband and I were blessed to visit him often. And shortly after we made Aliyah to Ashkelon, we would go see him maybe twice a month. And he knew exactly what questions to ask, whether it be about the family, about work, how we were spending our time. Or even one question that he never stopped asking was he wanted to know, why Ashkelon? Why not Yerushalayim? And I think that one he was having a hard time understanding. But it was just, he was a man who exemplified his ability not just to know what questions to ask, but to really make you feel like he was listening and know how to respond. And I really looked up to him as a Rebbe, and I miss that. And I often wonder, what would Rav Halivni have answered this? What would his opinion be? How would he guide me? And that's something that I'm sure he not just did for us, but did for countless other people. And as you know, this is also Shabbat Nachamo. And I think on this Shabbat, we can take our nechama, our comfort from knowing that Rav Halivni left behind an incredible legacy of Torah within all the works that he published, and that we can actually gain guidance in every aspect of our lives. Shabbat Shalom L'Kulam.